Have you ever thought about someone for no reason, to the point where it becomes almost worrisome? Not because you want to think about it, but because you can't ignore it. That name that keeps coming back, that face that appears without warning, that heart that's restless, even as you want to move on. What if it wasn't just an obsession? What if it wasn't a coincidence either? What if that invisible connection, that constant return to your mind, was a message from Allah Himself? Not to make you suffer, but to guide you towards something you can't yet understand. In this video, you will discover the powerful and subtle signs that show that Allah may want to unite you with a very specific person. Not according to your plans, but according to His purpose. Stay until the end. What you're about to hear could change your perspective on what you're experiencing right now. 1. The song. The silence around you isn't empty. It's talking about that person. Have you noticed? When everyone is talking to you, you stay smiling. But it's when no one says anything anymore that the real questions arise. Not the ones you can ask out loud, but the ones you've been carrying around for nights on end. That moment when the notifications stop, when the phone goes silent, when no one texts you, the world around you slows down, and you think you're just alone. But no, this silence, it's not empty. It's filled with signs. And in the midst of this silence, there's a face, not a memory, not a fantasy, a face that comes back, not to haunt you, not to disturb you, but to wake you up. You're not looking for it, but He returns, in a half-spoken prayer, in a dream you didn't understand, in a conversation that suddenly turns to that name, in that strange feeling that someone should be there. You think it's your spirit, but what if it's your soul speaking? What if that person, in that silence that envelops you, is a reminder of Allah Himself? Not a test, not an obsession, but a quiet call. Allah doesn't need to shout to guide you. He doesn't need to turn your life upside down to speak to you. Sometimes He removes all the noise around you, so that you can hear what's troubling you inside. And in that almost sacred calm, your heart settles. You feel soothed, not excited, not euphoric, but in a strange peace. A peace you only feel when you think of one person. The one you may never have been able to explain to others. The one you can't erase, despite the years, the prayers, the silences. You see, it's not attachment. It's not a whim. It's a divine whisper. A subtle connection your heart recognizes, even if your logic still struggles. And if that face doesn't leave you in silence, it may be because Allah doesn't want it to go. Perhaps He wants you to listen more deeply. Not to what the world tells you, but to what your heart, under His light, truly feels. And what your heart feels is perhaps more real than anything you see. 2. When your heart struggles, but always returns to the same soul, there is this war, but it can't be seen. It makes no noise, no screams, no visible tears. It's an inner war. And you leave it alone. Every day, you make an effort. You avert your gaze. You purify your thoughts. You pronounce invocations for forgetfulness. You convince yourself it's better this way. That this connection shouldn't exist. That it's only a weakness of the heart. And yet, your heart returns to it. Not as one returns to a temptation, but as one returns to a beginning. And that's where the pain begins. Because you don't understand. You've done everything right. You've moved away. You've cut ties. You've closed doors. But despite this, despite all your prayers to erase it, he or she is still there. Not in your hand, nor in your life, but in a more intimate place, your heart. And this silent presence tires you. Not because it prevents you from moving forward, but because it forces you to return to yourself. You doubt. You cry sometimes, alone. You even blame yourself. You ask Allah why this face, this name, this connection haunts you without poison. Because there is no sin in this thought. There is no burning desire. There is only this strange serenity, this peaceful sensation that this soul, despite everything, is connected to yours. So, what if it wasn't a mistake? What if it weren't a toxic attachment to be eradicated, but a divine direction to be recognized? You know, there are feelings that the soul doesn't create alone. Feelings that aren't imposed, but settle gently, like gentle rain on ready soil. They don't come to consume you. They come to build you up. Perhaps this connection, however discreet, is not a trial to be fled from, but an invitation to understand. Allah doesn't plant a presence in your heart to break you. He doesn't let a name resonate in your soul without reason. It may be a preparation, a signal that your heart must learn to recognize the truth. Not fantasy, not whim, but the person destined to resonate with your soul, quietly, but with faith. What if this constant return, silent yet powerful, was a heavenly call, not to love too soon, but to begin to see differently? 3. Strange dreams, disturbing synchronicities. It's no coincidence, you didn't look for it, and yet he or she returns, not in front of you, not in your direct life, but in your subtle world, in your dreams, in the glances you share. In a sentence a stranger said, without knowing what it triggered in you. You were calm, and suddenly, a name pops up in a conversation around you. You open your phone, and that name appears. You dream of a face, a strange scene, and you wake up with a feeling you can't explain. You want to ignore it, but the pattern returns. Again and again. At first, you tell yourself it's nothing. Coincidences. Your brain playing tricks on you. But how many times can you say, it's nothing, before you start listening differently? Because some repetitions aren't random. They're orchestrated, placed in your daily life like celestial markers. Not to obsess you, not to blind you, but to awaken you. What many call synchronicities, in spiritual language, are sometimes secret reminders. Reminders that Allah inscribes in your external reality to awaken something within. And when this happens too often, too precisely, you must stop. Not to become attached, but to listen. Perhaps it's not this person themselves you need to understand. Perhaps it's what this person symbolizes for you. Perhaps it's a call to prepare yourself, to cleanse your heart, to open your inner gaze, because this bond may be more than a bond. It may be a mission, you know. Allah doesn't always act by the obvious. He doesn't show you everything head on. He makes you experience it through signs, winks from the invisible. And sometimes, it's dreams that become messengers. Those dreams where you don't understand everything, but where you feel everything. Those dreams where you meet another in a strange place, in an unreal scene. And you wake up with a feeling that stays with you all day. Not fear, not confusion, but a sweetness. As if your soul has recognized something your mind hasn't yet identified. And then you ask yourself, why? Why this person? Why now? Why so many signs? What if the real question were, what is Allah trying to show me through all this? When the signs align, when the patterns repeat themselves, It is no longer an illusion. It is a sacred language that only the connected heart can begin to understand. A language that the world cannot see, but that you feel deeply. And when Allah wants to get your attention, He does it gently. But He doesn't stop. 4. You want to move forward, but your heart is blocked by everyone, except one person. You've tried. You've turned the page, at least on the surface. You've met other faces, you've smiled, you've talked, you've shown openness. But why then? Is nothing happening in your heart? Why does every person seem bland, disconnected, alien to your soul? Why doesn't your heart move, doesn't come alive, doesn't open? Except when a single name comes to mind. And you blame yourself. You tell yourself you're too close, too difficult, too demanding perhaps. But what if that's not it? What if your heart isn't closed, but protected? What if this barrier you feel, this emotional void you drag into encounters, this emotional silence in your prayers, was a form of divine preservation? You pray to feel something else. You ask Allah to open you up to someone else, but it's as if the sky remains silent. And deep down, you know why. You feel a silent no. An invisible wall urging you to be patient, to not rush into anything. And then you ask yourself this question: why don't I feel anything, except for one person? What if Allah had already placed His answer in your heart, but your mind wasn't yet ready to understand it? What if this unique peace, this profound calm you feel only at the thought of a single being, it wasn't a toxic attachment, but a sign of alignment? You see, when Allah wants to distance you from what isn't for you, He doesn't destroy you. He extinguishes. He cools. He gently closes. And sometimes, He makes your heart unable to open elsewhere, because He knows what you don't yet see. He knows the paths that lead to happiness, as well as those that end in emotional devastation. And perhaps He has already shown you the soul He has fashioned for you. Perhaps this person has already crossed your path. But He didn't reveal it to you clearly, because you first had to weather the storm of your doubts. You had to understand the value of this connection without clear proof. And then you understand that it's not pride that's blocking your heart. It's not a lack of effort or an unjustified closure. It's your heart that recognizes what is out of alignment and waits in silence for what has been written with purity. Perhaps true love cannot be forced. Perhaps it emerges gently, like a light that only Allah can ignite at the right time, in the right heart. If you recognized yourself in what you just heard, it's no coincidence. Allah never leaves a sincere heart without a sign. Perhaps these feelings, these coincidences, these dreams were precisely the answers you've been asking for a long time. You are not alone in this wait. You are not crazy to feel what you feel. Perhaps you are recognizing one of Allah's greatest gifts, the connection with a soul meant for you. If this video touched you, share it with someone who is also going through this confusion. Someone who needs to hear that what they're experiencing isn't an illusion, but perhaps a revelation. Comment below what your heart felt, like if this message resonated with you. And above all, keep the faith. Because what you eagerly seek, Allah is already gently bringing to you.